Hello, friends. Welcome to the End Evil podcast. This is Chris Jansen, and evil is the destruction of freedom. Thanks for joining me. Whoever's out there in the audience, welcome to the End Evil podcast. This year, we're kind of finishing up 2024, getting towards the end here. And I want to do a quick, exciting announcement next week on Tuesday. I'm doing a special live stream show and with the One Great Work Warriors. And we are going to be talking about our 2-year anniversary. We're going to kind of recap all the awesome things that have happened in the last 2 years. 2 years going strong with these other 5 gentlemen meeting every week and creating monthly content for y'all. So, if you guys haven't checked that stuff on out, go on over to endevil.life. As you saw, I also just showed the Funnel 4, Humanity Rising. The theme's going to be inspiring care to action. That's going to be February 22nd, 23rd of next year. So really excited about that, and we'll be announcing more about that in the coming weeks. But for now, if you want to review Funnel 3 or Funnel 2 or Funnel 1, head on over to freedomundernaturallaw.com. So without any more ado, this show is a follow-up. We did a One Great Work Warriors episode called Addicted to Convenience. That was a couple weeks ago. And so this week is your opportunity, if you're in the audience, to come on the show and, share your opinion on what we have to say or what we didn't say about that episode. So I'm going to go ahead and put that link one more time in the chat here. And I'm going to show you guys a quick, I just cut out a couple little things from last week, a little 4-minute clip, and I'll play that. And then that'll give me a chance to bring some people in. If anyone wants to join for the show, I know I already have Chris Nelson and Derek Bartolocelli in the studio here. So they'll be joining me after this short little clip. And if you want to join, check the comments and hit that link, and we'll see you then. Okay, let's play this little
program unconscious conditioning as far as being in that mindset. A society that is addicted to convenience, is that a society that's really going to thrive? Especially in the Western world, it's considered a convenient society because we can get things pretty much at ease. So um man is more lazier now. Man is more dumber, not as intelligence. Man is more apathetic. Man is more unhealthy. So we are sold this idea of convenience, efficiency, but at what cost to society? Most people's awareness and navigation skills are terrible now, compared to when, like before smartphones. Just seeing people navigate like in public, like in society, they're constantly looking down, for centuries, man used to always look up to the heavens. Now we're looking down. People's memory is terrible.
whether it's convenience or technology or the combination of those things. That is a natural part of being intelligent conscious beings. But when does it take on this evil overtone? When does it start being bad, wrong? Well, for me, the addiction part of it has so much to do with materialism, our addiction to materialism. It's almost closer to slavery, being addicted. It's like being bound. When you look at the etymology, it's Latin adicere, to surrender or to bind, which I just learned that, when I was researching for this episode. So it binds us when we need something, when we've given up ourselves to something, it binds us.
It's very easy to just put food in my mouth, chew it, swallow it. But there's also, you have to consider the digestion system and kind of giving your body a break from working all the time, right? It's kind of like those unseen consequences that they don't manifest right away. Like, although, yes, there might be that, what do you want to call it? The splinter in the mind. And sometimes we ignore the signs, and that's a problem. And then that just manifests into a whole giant. It becomes a bigger problem than it has to be. So tackling those problems right away is the way to go.
But I'm not. I'm totally still really hooked to the system and a lot of the benefits that come along with it. Um, I want to say it's kind of ironic too when you were talking about the smartphones, how, all the intelligence it took to invent that smartphone, but is making it so people are dumber. So it took all that to get to that point. So that now the phone is so smart that you can be stupid,
We all seek out convenience, are addicted to convenience. Being convenient does not necessarily make it bad. It may not even start off or intend to be good or bad when thought up, uh, but it does come down to how it's being used, which can then start to be seen as either destructive or something that can be used to improve society or even one's life. It then becomes about intent and awareness.
We have these like codependent relationships with technology and whatever can convene us towards whatever. And yeah, going to the etymological thing, I mean, like conviennement, the meant, the state of, from mentalism, and together, going together.
Convene. Let us convene here. See if I can get us on the screen so we can convene. Oh, come on, doing funny things with me here. All right, there we go. Welcome, friends. Thanks for coming, Derek, Chris, Nelson. Actually, two people who are both going to be involved in the Funnel 4 Humanity Rising concert. Thanks for taking part in that planning, folks. And why don't we start off with Derek? What you doing, Derek? How's France?
Oh, pretty good. And just listening to that last little snippet, I mixed up my French with the English. It's so convenient to do that, right? Speaking franglais all day. How's it going?
Qu'est-ce que c'est, the franglais?
Yeah, exactamundo. Yeah.
How many languages in that sentence?
See you, Chris, back in California. Chris Nelson, long time no see, mon ami. And I always have a couple extra little notes hanging off from these Great Work Warrior chats, and I'll get into that, but I'd love to hear from Chris Nelson first and foremost. How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having another open table. What are they? The
Roundtable. Thanks for coming, Chris. You're one of my favorite people to show up. Appreciate it.
It's always good to have it. Christmas came early. Like I said, I like having these as my socializing of like-minded and high-minded people talk about meaningful things rather than the bullshit that most people talk about. So always pleasure to be here.
Oh. Yeah, would anything strike you from that last episode, Chris?
Or I think you guys did that that one was was it last month or 2 months ago?
It was at least 2 weeks ago. I'm a little confused, but
yeah, I don't know. Things have been hectic.
Yeah,
Derek knows there, but I didn't go back to the Europa Natural Law doing those roundtables because during the day I'm busy. My partner
shout out to those guys. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, my partner broke her ankle in 3 places, so I'm busy from 6:30 in the morning to 7 at night with the kids and everything and taking care of everything. So my only free time is at night now. So.
And look what he decided to do with it, folks. So that's inspiration to all you out there saying, I don't have time. Here's a guy with kids and full-time work and all this stuff and a partner with a broken leg, and he still shows up to talk about natural law. So looks like we got Rick in the chat. What's up, Rick?
Yeah, what's up, Rick? Fred? Young blood.
Thanks, folks, for coming. Patty, Zeralath.
Yeah, Zeralath, what's up?
Theo, it's good to see you, folks.
Theo, get up in here, man.
Yeah, shit. So I'm just kind of looking back on my notes. I think my favorite quote was "Smooth seas do not make skillful sailors." And for me today, like I've been doing a lot of, speaking of being busy, Chris, my life recently has been get up and go work, and I work. I do a combination of some stuff on the internet, on the some stuff on my computer. I have certain office days, but recently I've been out in the field a lot doing construction, carpentry work, and it's like freezing out right now. And one of the places I'm working out doesn't have any heat, so I brought like all my stuff to make coffee, right? And so I could set up my own little coffee station right on my own little job site, and that's like the type of thing that requires some thinking ahead, like, and I've often thought that about carpentry work and the hardship that comes along with working outdoors. But I really appreciate it because it's made me tougher. Like the ends of my fingers, they don't get pain very easily because they've been hurt a lot, and they've been toughened up. I got calluses, when it's cold out, like I kind of like it in a weird way. It's a little painful sometimes when you pick up something metal or, but I kind of like it. It reminds me of finishing hard work and a lot of good times outdoors. And so I see that snow on the mountains, and yeah, it hurts a little. I get the chill, a little bit uncomfortable. My toes are going numb, but I also like the struggle because it makes me tougher and it makes me feel like a man. So I don't know, maybe that gives you guys a jumping off point about hardship and the importance of enduring hardship and becoming tough in this world rather than being soft, what they want us to be.
Chris, you want to take it, or I'll just say, it hinges off the, tough times create strong men, and good times create weak men. What's up with that? And why do we fall into these pits of complacency? Like, it's like the comfort zone is this breeding ground for that, and laziness, and just kind of not really keeping our skill set refined and all that stuff. And also there's something psychologically and just consciously and energetically in regards to our chi and just our will force. Yeah, Chris, I love what you're talking about. And wintertime is kind of a struggle for me because I'm a Leo, born in the summer. I love the heat and all that, but I do love to. I was watching videos of myself back in a couple of years ago, living in Brittany. It was snowing out, but hey, like, we only got wood to chop to heat up the house, so we got to get out there and do these things, and it's not that convenient, it's not the push of a button like this right here, where I'll get some free, or not. It's not free, of course,
Far from it, right?
Yeah, you know what I mean. So yeah, Chris, I know you've spoken about this in several of your great presentations, and yeah, there's something lacking with just that personal drive, I guess. Sometimes when we have everything handed to us and everything's almost done for us, there's something that is going on psychologically with that. So curious as to what you got to say about that, or anything Chris said.
Yeah, well, with the last thing, that if everything's handed to you, you don't have much purpose and drive. You lack meaning and direction because there's nothing to strive for. Everything's just handed to you. So that's the worst kind of convenience. And I was just looking up the etymology, I guess like an hour ago, of convenience, and like in French. So it comes from Latin, and there's also French, because in the Latin, convienza and convenir, but it's convenir and ça convient. That's when something's agreeable or it's suitable. So I was trying to make sense of like the original understanding and how it's morphed, because originally it's like agreement, conformity, resemblance, similarity, and the root has to do with to come with or to come together, convenir. So that's why the French viens ici means come here. So that's related to that. And I was trying to understand, well, how does it end up meaning eventually, like in the 17th century, ease or comfort, and then the quality of being personally not difficult. When you look at it, something that the way I made sense of it was that if it's to come with or come together, then you're bringing it with you, like something that's agreeable or suitable. Well, you're coming to agreement with it, you're meeting with it, and you're in harmony with it. But that's through it being willing. So something that you're bringing with you, well, you're in accord with it, you're in agreement with it, you're combining with it because you want it. And the things that you don't want, well, those are the hardships that we don't want. So that's why it's not convenient, because it's something that you don't want to bring with you. You don't want it to come with you, but you have to deal with it anyways. So that's why I think it eventually morphed into the way we understand it now as something that's with ease or comfort, because it's that thing that's like, okay, well, it's easy, it's comfort. Well, then, yeah, I'll take it. Come with me. And then when it's not easy or comfortable, when it's a hardship and it's a trial or tribulation, then it's well, it's not convenient, obviously. And yeah, that ties into, like, the hero's journey, the alchemical work, because that's all symbolism, like going into the underworld and fighting the demons. Well, that's all fighting the things, the horror and the darkness, the evil, the negative, the immorality within you, and trying to transmute it and sublimate it and come out as a new version of yourself, better than before, as so that you can create a better world as a newer version, a better version, a truer and higher version of yourself, and that potential that we all have to become better, and striving for what is better, rather than the ease and the comfort and convenience of just remaining where you are in your current state of being. Well, there's that potential of becoming something better, and then striving for it. And part of what I'm working on in the Funnel 4 presentation, I'm in the etymology of inspire and aspire. So we aspire. That's where you can aspire to something else by being inspired by such things such as information of quality truths like morality, and you get inspired by that, and then you aspire to embody that. You desire, and you have a striving for, like, actualizing that. So that's all part of the alchemical, the highest alchemical process of moral actualization and becoming a better person. And then, eventually, obviously, teaching morality, helping other people engage in that same process. And that's the inner great work and the outer great work. And yeah, I think that's all I'll add for now.
And there is an amazing, joyful prize in there from the universe, I've found. If I wouldn't have gone through the uncomfortable experience of learning how to do Wim Hof breathing and trying to hold my breath for a really long time and being uncomfortable, I could never say I've held my breath for 3 full minutes. But I did, because I went through that uncomfortable feeling, and it was worth it because it also helped with my health. So something like that, we earn bragging rights in our life by doing things that are difficult. Someone climbed a mountain because they pushed through the hard part when they felt like they couldn't do it, whereas the other guy was like, "Oh, that's too hard," or the other gal or whoever, I'm going back. But we got the wonderful Theo Lux with us. Thanks so much for joining us, Theo. I'd love to hear anything you got to say. But real quick, before I hand it to you, I just wanted to send a big thanks out to Jerry. Folks, Jerry has been doing a kick-ass job on End Evil Podcast, uploading episodes to multiple platforms for months and months now. And he's been doing that just out of volunteer work. So if anyone out there is feeling the love, endevil.life does have a spot where you can give donations. And the next donation we get is going to Jerry, because I really appreciate what he's doing. And he's really helping this podcast get out to folks. So anyway, I'll hand it off to Theo. Thanks much.
All right, so it would have been so convenient of me to just watch you guys and not join the chat, right? And yeah, it's so convenient for people to not care, to just go to work, do the thing, watch Netflix, go to sleep, eat McDonald's, and repeat every day. And it's like, okay, I mean, that works. You can live like that. You're not gonna die, I guess, that quickly doing that. But how is it serving really, like, the deeper you? How is it serving people around you? It's not serving. anyone really. It's just serving yourself. So it's kind of going back to Satanism, right? Like something Mark talks about a lot, and of course everyone who's aware of natural law and all that is aware of the concept that we are living in a satanic society. So in satanic society, one of the things that are worshipped the most are convenience, hedonism, egotism, all those things, and it leads to, you know, such things as solipsism, atheism, and all that, which is a very quick way to get into the deep abyss. And yeah, I don't know if maybe some people might not even find a way out of that abyss. But why we're doing the great work is we want to help people first off avoid that abyss in the first place. And if they're already in that abyss, maybe try to find a ladder to climb up back to the surface, where you see the beautiful nature and you see the beautiful blue sky, hopefully without those chemtrails. And yeah, you
And the
breathe the
beautiful
fresh
Leslie Powers.
air. Yes. And yeah, so what I'm trying to get at is that convenience can really get you into a hole, like a dark abyss, really, when you're only focused on that and you're not challenging yourself, like you guys mentioned, like and you're not, you know, really engaged in that hero's journey, which again, like it demands challenging yourself. It demands like pushing yourself and like pushing your own boundaries and yeah, doing things that make you uncomfortable. You know, like things that you're not used to or you're afraid of or whatever. I mean, you don't meet many people these days that are willing to do those kind of things. But the only way to really make progress in life and really advance your skills and your abilities and your experience forward, like have a more interesting life, have a more beautiful, more magical life, really, it's to actually really challenge yourself and push yourself. That's the only way. You know, being comfortable all the time will just keep you stagnant. It will not really do anything good to anyone, not to yourself, not to anyone. It just will keep you from not dying and, you know, not I don't know, even that, like I feel like people who push themselves, maybe they're kind of sometimes even push themselves or put themselves in the edge of life, like you say, mountain climbing or all kinds of things like extreme sports. But those people end up actually living a lot longer than people who just sit on their ass all day, right? Like the universe kind of comes to help you in a way to when you're doing great things. You like get assistance from the divine spirits, you could say, and you find synchronicities start to occur, and you meet people, and good things happen to you. Like, so it might sound like something hard or difficult, or like why would I, you know, get myself out in nature and like do something difficult or like challenge myself, like go on a marathon or whatever. Like, why would I do that? It's so comfortable to just be at home, play video games all day. Like, but then when you actually find an inspiration to do that, and you do that, you feel amazing afterwards. You feel like, wow, I feel so good. It's like, I'm so glad I did that. So yeah, that's my 2 cents, I guess.
Awesome, Theo. Put that in the bank. That's some heavy duty 2 cents right there, man. People could buy a lot of common sense with those words. But yeah, speaking of beautiful, Leslie Powers, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. So some thoughts that have come up for me. Chris Nelson, you were talking about, convenir, come together. And I was thinking about the image of people coming together, and that maybe the original meaning of convenience was how many hands make light work. And by coming together and working together, that we have an easier life, that we have more joy, that we have more efficiency, that, you know, and that's really how life was. I think, you know, going back to our ancestors, you know, they were much more aware of their interdependence, and how, you know, women would gather and, you know, like even today, like, you know, a lot of Mexican families, the women come together, families come together, and they make tamales, you know, at the holidays. And it becomes not only an act of sharing with your family or your community, but also, you know, this social connection that comes, that brings a lightness to our spirit. And so what instead has happened, it seems like the convenience has shifted from people working together to technology being the partner, in a sense that we're looking to things that money can buy or that technology can bring to make things easier. And that's related to this economic kind of situation that requires people to always work, and you know, two parent homes to have two both working, and you know, the whole soccer, sports, school mentality, you know, where parents are running around dropping their kids off places and going to soccer games and here and there, and you don't have time to cook a meal, and so you're on the run and you're grabbing fast food. And this has become a lot of our society here in the US. And so this convenience is kind of seen as, oh my God, it's like easing my life and it's saving my ass, because I don't have the lifestyle to be able to make things on my own, right? And yet I think that there's a real loss that comes from relying on convenience foods and convenient technologies. And that we, you know, is kind of in that clip that, you know, Brandon talked about how, and, you know, you all talked about that kind of the dumbing down is all of a sudden, you know, people don't know how to do an oil change or change their brakes or cook, you know, a meal from scratch or make a, you know, clothes or sew, you know, and this affects people's sense of confidence and autonomy in the world. If you are reliant on other people, other entities, then you are somewhat of a sitting duck during any time of hardship or emergency, you know. And I think that people, part of the chronic anxiety that people are facing has something to do with a fear of not being prepared if something goes wrong, and not having the resources and not having the practice, because, you know, you need to practice things during regular life in order to pull them off during a crisis or a hardship, you know. So there's a lot of implications to this. So I'll stop there. I have some more to share, but I'll come back for my next turn. Thank you, guys.
Right on. Thanks, Leslie. One thing that came to my mind that we didn't talk about last time, or I don't remember mentioning, was cars. It's something I've thought a lot about over the years. And it's like, to me, it's like teetering on the edge of doing something evil, you know, driving cars. It's not quite, but almost. I mean, it's pretty destructive way to travel when we think about it. How many animals get killed, people get maimed, wounded. There's more. Every half an hour, California highways have an accident. It's happening, or a death, I think it is, right? So it ends up to be 2,000 to 3,000 deaths a year just on California highways. But I only thought back, like, okay, you had people walking from place to place at that rate. You could only really live so far from each other in a reasonable way to get supplies and get resources. And there was traditionally through history, groups of people have lived together for survival's sake in small tribes, communities, whatever you want to call them. And when we bring in new modes of travel, yeah, it's convenient. Like now we can just get on this little bike or this little wheeled vehicle and scoot right up the hill. But the other result of that that's happened is people move further and further away from each other. And I've seen it happen twice in my life where the children can't afford to live where the parents lived. You know, where I grew up was a very bad neighborhood when I grew up there, with like gangsters and trailers with spray paint on the side when I was a kid. But now those are $1.5 million homes, and I couldn't afford to live there now. where I grew up in the ghetto. You know what I mean? And so we have this inflation thing to where a lot of times children have to move out far away from their parents into different towns, further and further drive away, which breaks up the whole family unit and the whole tribe unit because we have this convenience. Now people all fall apart and traveling all the time in an unnecessary method to do things that used to be done right at home in yelling distance. And I can see where it's nice in some ways, but it causes long term a lot of more freaking problems. So it's something I thought about. Yeah, if you guys haven't subscribed to And Evil Podcast, please do on YouTube or make friends on Facebook. Yeah, who else has something to say on that topic?
Well, yeah, going with the traveling thing. There's a really good YouTube video. I forget what it's called, but it's going along the lines of what you're talking about, and it's creating more isolation with everyone, conveniently driving solo in their cars and all that. Oh, maybe they'll grab a coworker or friend, family member for that carpool lane or whatever, or if it's convenient for the thing. And yeah, of course, there are great things about convenience. It's more about not letting it have control over you and kind of dumb you down, or you are compromising your life skills to be so convened. You're coming with all this new technology in a sense, right? And it doesn't mean we got to go back to the archaic shit, of course, right? But yeah, going back to what Leslie was talking about, because it was great to come together with her and Chris last month, and here I am in my little place in France, which is about the same size as your kitchen. And no shit, like no exaggeration, but it's all right. And it's kind of convenient. I have everything around, and I live a simple life. And I don't have a car. I don't have a French driver's license. It's too expensive, blah, blah, blah. But public transportation is a lot more legit than in America. In America, it's kind of like programmed to be that way because automotive companies rule the economic system. We got to always keep those folks in mind. But, so anyways, wanted to switch it up a little bit because I had some notes I wanted to share in regards to, the whole psychological effect it has on people. And especially in this, technological social media era, where it is so convenient to avoid the tough questions or be even held accountable for what you say and all this stuff. I'm all for free speech, but people are abusing it like beyond belief sometimes, But whatever. It seems like people are, trying to, they'll block people or, all these things that you can do on social media now, or just, completely ignore people, whatever. Sometimes that is necessary if there's, some toxic, illogical people that, you're hitting your head against a brick wall. There's no reason to keep doing that kind of shit. But anyway, so, but at the same time, like, are people actually giving others a chance, or is it immediately like, as soon as someone disagrees with me, it's so convenient to just block them and like, nope, because my shit don't stink, right? Never did, and all this stuff and whatever, right? I need those dopamine hit instant gratification things. I don't want to have my opinions challenged because that's offensive to me. This is how people act these days because it's so convenient to fucking do so, and they get away with it and all this stuff. It's not the same kind of interaction you have in real life, So this is like the digital dilemma that people need to reconcile with a little bit more, because we're all subject to it, and it all depends on your self-mastery and composure and compassion and way of fucking being, like as above, so below. Do you have a good rapport with yourself? If you do, then it should be more legit with others, above average. Anyway, so with this whole digital media stuff, I'm gonna cut it quick because I know y'all want to say something. But how convenient is it to fake it to make it and all this stuff? How convenient is it to just copy someone else's content and just regurgitate it over there? How fucking convenient is it? But it's like they're bypassing all the hard work and due diligence and research it takes to actually be at that fucking level. and people tell on themselves, and time fucking tells. Yo, Oscar, what's up, man? It's so convenient to be up in Europe at 3:30 in the fucking morning too to do this shit. So yeah, props to you, brother.
I just woke up
Whatever
actually,
belongs
so
to you, yeah.
it's an early morning for me.
Up in Denmark, yeah. What's cracking?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe is my mic on? Do you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay,
you're
yeah,
sounding
good, bro.
good. Thanks for coming, Oscar. Appreciate it.
Thanks for hosting. It's cool to chat with you all. I was just wondering about the etymology of the word. I actually don't know that. I was gonna look that up. Did you already cover that?
We did a little bit. I think we talked about it in the past episode, and then Chris, weren't you just kind of going over? You still got that in front of you?
Yeah, so it's calm and venere, or venere in Latin, venere. I don't know how it's pronounced, but so to come with or to come together. And I was looking at that like an hour and a half ago before, trying to see if there was an etymological significance, and the meaning has changed. It's differentiated from its original. So from that root, to come with or together, originally it was something that's that you're in agreement with. I'm just going to pull it up now because I closed the tab. Similarity, conformity, agreement, resemblance, state or condition of being suitable, adaptation to existing conditions, a meeting together, harmony, come together, meet together, assemble, unite, join, combine. And then later it means that which gives ease or comfort, or the quality of being personally not difficult. So that's later on. I was trying to understand, as I mentioned, like how it's shifted from one to the other. And yeah, the link I made was that it's something that because in French it's there's the word venir, so that's or viens, come here, and so that's already directly like the same word as Latin. In English we don't have it, but in French it's there. And so the change to something of ease or comfort was the emphasis on, meeting together, something in agreement. Well, if you agree with someone or something, an idea, then you're welcoming it in. So it's easy to welcome it because you're already in agreement with it, versus something that you're not in agreement with, that you're in opposition with. Well, that's not easy to get along with. You're not going to be in agreement with. So it's something difficult to go through. And so that's why I think that it came to our colloquial understanding now as differing from the original etymology. So related to ease or comfort, being not difficult, is because of that connotation of whatever you willingly welcome in versus something that's in your presence that you don't want to welcome in. So then you're in opposition to it, or you're in conflict to it. So that's something that's difficult and it's not comfortable.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, that actually makes sense. That it's the coming together. Come together. It's
Come
the
together.
kind of like the two rabbits with one rock, or two flies with one smack. I don't know if you have that expression in English.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's. I guess I understand better the idea of why it would be called convenience, because it's two things that are merging. That okay, then we can do this in like in one take, or we can those two intentions are combining, opposed to when something is like where it's requiring of me to do like a complete 180, or like it's asking me to change, like the word controversial, right? It's facing change. So I guess I would maybe try to put those in a contrast, controversy and convenience.
Oh, yeah, contrast or contest, right? Those are more adversarial. That's a good point.
But I haven't gotten the time to check out the you already did a roundtable about Addiction to Convenience, right? The One Great Work Warriors.
Yeah, you got it. Yep. Yeah.
I'll be sure to check that out.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
no worries.
2 or
But
3 back.
Oscar, you want to share with us something like your observations out in Denmark, of how convenience is kind of like a little too much on overdrive, if you will, or something like that, or how it affects people, whatever. That'd be interesting to hear.
Sure. I'll throw in some observations I have, and of course these should definitely be taken with a grain of salt, because I'm just one individual here in Denmark, which is a country of around 6 million individuals, and we got fun fact, we got around like 30 million pigs. So we got way more pigs than than people. It's like a whole industry. But that's a side note. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe that is a part of the convenience talk. It's very convenient just to have a lot of pigs. Maybe no. I think what I would chime in with is the level of comfort, in the sense that it's very much a welfare state, and it's there is like this approach to life, where it's very common maybe to think that the state will have you, or like will have your back. So it's very convenient, I would say, in Denmark to have the degree of a welfare state that we have, where one can rely on it, and it's in some ways it's a very valuable thing for a lot of individuals. I experience them say that they see it as being really like life-saving, or like a very helpful or convenient thing for them, right? And yeah, confronting them about the aspect of morality would be controversial, would be
Inconvenient.
would be inconvenient, both for the relationship between me and them, and also for them to evaluate the dilemma they find themselves in, or their own choice. One thing that I think is not really usual for other countries is that students are paid to go to school. So you have a lot of students from abroad that come to Denmark because, yes, students are paid to go to school. It's quite absurd, actually. Or like,
They
not
want you
absurd,
to
it's
have your
quite-
indoctrination, right?
I mean, there is that. I mean, there is the part of education where it's how much is it really education and how much is it indoctrination. I think for me myself, I grew up in Italy, so I actually didn't go to the Danish school system, so I can't really speak a lot about whether how much indoctrination it is, how it works from firsthand experience. Of course, I can have my outside opinion, like a fly on the wall kind of thing. But I think that is an interesting thing, how it's very convenient to go to school, because to get that influence on your mind, which is state education, because it gets you the money to rent your place, or to buy your groceries. And I think that yeah, what are your have you heard about this before, that
I
students in
didn't,
Denmark?
but it reminds me of here in the U.S. So many people have gone to the military because they'll pay for your education, your college education, and that's a pretty big temptation. And I've met and talked to quite a few people that have done it just for that reason. And like you're saying, the morality issue is out the window because it's advertised as a good thing. And that's a lot of where that I'm saying that schooling, it sets up this whole paradigm of thinking where things like military, I mean, in our schools, the military got to come in and take over the classroom for whenever you got into 8th grade. Every class, every student got that thing where the military comes in and tells you how great it's going to be to come and work for them, for the next 4 to 6 years of your life. So, but I didn't know that about the free education. I'm glad you brought that to my attention. That's interesting.
Oh,
I
it's not just free. It's not just free. It's
paid.
paid. Like, and it's not. I'm
Wow.
not. It's not just like a few bucks.
It's like a decent pay.
It's quite a lot, and that's not to like. I don't want to make it into something that like completely like caricature it into something crazy. But it is a unique thing for this country and maybe a few
Heard
other
that.
countries. You don't have that a lot of different places, which means a lot of students from abroad come to Denmark.
Oscar, what are the jobs that are encouraged, that the students are encouraged to go into? Are they typically like state jobs, or what's the job market like?
Oh, I don't want to overstep my knowledge here, but I do. My impression is that there is a lot of emphasis on state jobs, like speaking with the individuals who are in difficult situations. I don't know what that job is called in English.
Social
Like
worker.
yes, social working, or maybe also like. Nursing and like hospital, this kind of thing. I think, if I'm not mistaken, like a big majority of the jobs in Denmark are related to communications and related to like office jobs. It's a very small country, so there isn't a lot of land per se, which means that yeah, a lot of the jobs are from like home jobs or are like office jobs, and maybe if even though it might not be state jobs, like I know, for example, like a big company here in Denmark is called Novo Nordic, and is like a pharmaceutical company. And yeah, I don't want to overstep my knowledge here. I think there's probably some very good answer to your question that I'm not really sure I can provide here. But it is an interesting case, the case of Denmark and the situation it is. To tie it back to convenience, and maybe also to tie it to mind control. I think Denmark is an interesting case to look at. Not the only case to look at. I remember reading an article written by a gentleman who lived here for some years. It's called DK Ultra, and DK is like often how you abbreviate Denmark. And we also have like a TV channel for children called Ultra here, something like that. And like if there's something I want to criticize a lot in Denmark, it's the propaganda here. It's just like it's I don't know how it is in the US, but my impression is it's not state owned. But here it's state owned television channels, and like every media gets like money from the state. Like it's called the media money, or like the media. So all the medias, or like the big chunk of the medias, they don't criticize the state really. Like that's not what they do at all. Like they go along with the idea that you should not question authority, that you don't need to question authority, and it's dangerous to question authority. And I don't know, I'm kind of ranting a bit here, but very interesting case
perfect
here.
That's
slaves.
convenient.
Super interesting. Yeah, thank you.
You were going to say, Chris?
I was just saying the perfect slaves. You
Mhm.
condition them to be the perfect slaves, and either way, you know, Oscar doesn't want to overstep, but the conclusion is it's all immoral anyways, because where's the money coming from?
Yep.
I think the reason I'm encouraging to look into Denmark is that in some way I'm imagining that it's kind of like a test ground for a possible like a blueprint of sorts, because yeah, the mentality here is very much criticizable. Like it is very much approaching something that you could see as like a perfect slave state. Like, I mean, just to go all in on the dystopia thing, the free speech thing here is fucking dead. Like it's in the cemetery. Like people are arrested and put to jail for free speech. There was a woman during the lockdown years. She was a mother. She was put into jail for just having a speech, public speech, where she encouraged to. I don't know like how to translate correctly, but something along the lines of let's fucking like a bit aggressive, like let's
revolt or resist.
Revolt, but in a non-violent way. Like
resistance. Yeah.
Again, always with that emphasis. There's also a gentleman who was put to jail for having a website of jokes that were seemed racist. Like he had jokes about Chinese and Muslims, and and they were maybe not like the best jokes, and they were seen as like hate speech. But the gentleman himself was of an ethnic origin that was, he wasn't like your typical like the idea we have of a racist. Like he was I don't know where he was from. Maybe he was from China or like from Middle Eastern origin or something like that. But it was just so absurd that someone can be put into can be punished for their free speech. And that's why, again,
it's not very free in that point, is it?
To be a bit like that silly guy. The second protects the first. The Second Amendment protects the First Amendment, and it's not really about, of course, the writing down of the obvious, which is that it is a right, but there is a lot of depth in the writing of the founding fathers of the U.S. and I am a big proponent of recognizing the right to self-defense, which is like, that's something inconvenient to be for in Denmark, because the level of resistance to such a thing as bearing arms or carrying arms, firearms or whatever, is just very big. And the go-to argument is, but just look at America. Do you want it to be like that you can just go into a shop and buy a gun? Do you want kids to be able to just shoot themselves in school? And I don't know. I'm not gonna just escape from here. I think there's a reason that I'm here, and my goal, even though I have like zero content out public yet, is to create content in Danish. To specifically, one of the things that I'm really burning for is that recognition. The recognition of the right of self-defense is something that I really aspire to be able to contribute with. I'm in no way thinking that like now we're gonna have like an armed revolution or something like that's just absurd. But if we at least can if I can help contribute to more consciousness about that it is actually a right, people have the right to defend themselves and carry arms, that is not violent behavior, then I'm glad. Then
we have to be able to think a thing before we can begin to do a thing. And so first, a lot of it's just getting that suggestion, the idea that that's a thing that can be done, into the general consciousness that, oh, we could resist. Oh, maybe we shouldn't do what authority says. Being that voice often in history has been very, very fucking dangerous. And a lot of people have died or lived short lives because of their willpower, their non-willingness to adhere to what's convenient. And I was thinking back to something that Theo said earlier about when you're living life on the cutting edge, like maybe a mountain climber or doing extreme sports. Yeah, some of them do die young too. And a lot of these people in history that have been people that stood up for truth or stood up for what's right often did live a very short life. But I, for one, would rather live a short life that was ended because I was doing the right thing and I'm known as a hero to all, than die after a long life of being a miser and that's someone that's hated by humanity and God himself, herself, for being a fucking asshole. So, and even the tests they've done with electricity and EMF exposure, you find out that like the rats that were hit with the EMF exposure radiation over and over, they actually can live longer in some cases, but their quality of life is way crappier. And the rats that didn't get the EMF radiation exposure, maybe a little bit shorter life, but they're healthy and their fur's stronger. So, it's not all about living long, although I think you're right, what you were saying, Theo, I'm sorry, that if you're out there doing stuff, living on the edge of life, that possibility is going to be a lot better for your body to rejuvenate and your cells to make new cells and regenerate because you're living life, but I'd rather live life to the fullest and fight authority. And if I have to die young, better than living a long life and being a slave or an asshole. So I'll pass it off.
I'll just add to something if it's okay. This idea of how convenience really creates a lifestyle of like indulgence and somewhat meaningful activities. With the convenience of, DoorDash, you can stay at your video game console and you can play video games all night, or you can be on your phone scrolling, and you can be kind of becoming obese and inactive. And then I think what that leads to is a lack of purpose and a devaluing of even oneself. There's going to be an inner restlessness of sorts that people then will drown out with even more conveniences and more addiction, when what they're really missing is being vital and an active part of their community and society. And it's like the human being has this amazing capacity for innovation and creativity. And when you are relying on the convenience that other people are creating for you, then you are not the creator. You are not the dynamic human that you can be. And in some ways, are you fully human? And how does that affect the spirit and the soul? In the rune, there's a rune, Nauthies, which translates, I think, to need fire. And it's seen as, it's described as this phase where you are lacking something, but you have a need to create it. And it's that lack that then drives you to be innovative, to create the fire that will inspire life and help and continue to enhance your life, right? We all seek ease and we seek safety and some level of efficiency. Those aren't bad things. It's that very drive, though, that can inspire us to create. But in the world of convenience, we're not the creators of these things. They're large corporations. There's fast food companies. They're, external technology companies. And who's making the money? Who's driving this? Who's benefiting from our conveniences, right? And when we participate in them, are we stepping into more freedom and more sense of value and purpose in our own lives? Or are we just cogs in a wheel that someone is serving something else that is actually doesn't care about us? Derek Rose, I want to bring attention to his work he has on his channel, Conscious Resistance. He recently did, I think it's like a 7-part series called the 45-Day Exit and Build Challenge. And he's directing this towards people who are newer maybe to this. But I listened to a few of them and I want to finish them. But it really kind of, it poked me, and gave me a little wake up to the way that I fall for convenience. I'm on my, in my work day, I have to have, to get into some of the websites, I have to have an authenticator app on my phone, which isn't convenient at all for me, honestly. But there's so much stuff on the phone where you can have your passwords show up automatically. You can do your thumbprint. You can, it can remember stuff. And it saves you time, right? It's so convenient when you're busy. But what he talks about is that this falling for convenience is one of the agendas of the this new world order. It's about us becoming dependent on the conveniences, and then these conveniences will bit by bit lead us into more and more control over our freedom, where we have to have facial recognition, or these thumbprint stuff is going to be required potentially to access your money, or to cross a border, or get into a grocery store. We don't know, but it's sort of heading in this direction. And so it's
How about those passwords? Those are
yeah,
convenient, right?
yeah. I mean, and if you think about it, it's like what is there's like an analogy of like, you're getting slowly pulled into a trap, into the net, and they're doing it, pulling us, they're luring us, with this sense of ease and convenience, only to then we're going to end up in this deep trap. And so he encourages you to look at the areas of food. That's a big one. It's not convenient to grow your own food. And if you're not, friends with your neighbors, and you're not working on a community garden, then it's going to be a lot easier to go to the grocery store. So then if you don't have that food preparation or growth set up, and then all of a sudden you have to, sign your, life away to get food, you're going to be more tempted and more trapped. Money, of course, the banking system is somewhat of a trap, but it can be very convenient. Are we willing to inconvenience ourselves for our freedom? Or are we willing to walk a little further, take extra time, go meet someone in person, as opposed to do everything digitally? Land, are we willing to, again, like, there's different ways, again, about being self-sufficient with your own property, your own land, or versus, like popping into a little apartment. You have your gym in your clubhouse, you got your DoorDash. Education, right? It's a lot more convenient for parents to send their kids to a public school, and then the after school program after that, so that you have an instant babysitter. And you don't have to worry. You don't have to take responsibility for educating your kids. You've got other people doing it for you. And oh, how convenient that it's free, right? The medical system, how convenient, to go and have insurance, and they pay for your pills that you take to, take your blood pressure down, so you don't have to go out and exercise or eat right. So there's so many aspects of our lifestyle that are guided by this idea of convenience, and there's a high risk for us all to fall for this trap. So I think it's important people think about that in their own life.
Use cash, everybody. It's important, because that's all coming, the convenience of, well, just use your interact, your bank card, or use a credit card. I use cash everywhere. I'm like the only person anywhere I go that uses cash. But it's not convenient. I got to go to the bank. I got to go take out money. And I got to pay with coins. I got the bills and I got the coins, and I got to carry that around everywhere. So people don't want to deal with that. And now it's not even, people just use the tap on their phone, tap here, tap there. I don't have that installed on my phones. So I'm against all that. And but that's all coming. The biosecurity state, that's the next phase that they're bringing in. COVID was a push in that direction. That's the gradualism of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And then like they pull back, but they don't pull back all the way. And then they wait. Then they reintroduce it again later, and then they pull some of it back. And it just keeps going through the generations. And all that's coming. The biometrics, the fingerprints, the eye scans, and the lockdown is getting, it's going to come, and it's going to increase because people will let it, and a lot of people want it because of that convenience. And just to mention, related to the beginning of the show, Chris, you mentioned you like the cold. I hate the cold. I live in Canada, and it's fucking cold up here. I hate the winters. It's so cold. I like the convenience of warmth and the comfort of warmth. And one thing that Derek mentioned earlier on. So it's a quote that I remember. You guys have probably heard it before. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And weak men create hard times. And then the cycle repeats and repeats and repeats because nobody learns to persist in. You can apply it to morality. So hard times create moral men, and moral men create moral times and comfortable times and convenient times. So then those good times, times of good, well, that people become lax in their persistence of like doing what's right because they just assume it's all automatic and it's all taken care of. So they don't have to strive for it. They don't have to persist in it, like moral education or doing what's right. And then people falter and fail and they go downwards, and then that brings back the immoral society. And now those are the hard times, and then it just keeps repeating and repeating.
So how do we break the cycle? Right, that's a good question. And something that comes to mind personally is the idea of a rite of passage. I know ancient cultures used to have a rite of passage for childhood to adulthood, or I think it can also be related to other things as well. So maybe that's something we should reintegrate into our culture, into our societies. I mean, it doesn't have to be like throw the kid out to the jungle to survive or whatever that it was in some cultures apparently. But yeah, like I feel like challenge should be encouraged in order to gain respect. I mean, naturally it's like that. Naturally, when you see people challenging themselves, you tend to respect them more than people who just sit on their ass, right? But there should be like should be more encouraged and more like widely done, widely seen, and expected, I guess, that people would prove themselves in certain ways in life, and not be encouraged to just ease up, just chill, don't worry, Netflix and chill. So maybe we should say like, Netflix, get the fuck out of here. Maybe you should say stuff like that, like, no Netflix in my house, man, no TV in my house. And you know, like, don't use your phone for those TikToks and all those things, like, do something productive with your technology. Don't let the technology use you. Use the technology to better your own life and the life of people around you. And one thing that came to mind when Oscar was saying like how the state will pay for your education, and like like it's a welfare state. So we pay for everything. Just live a comfortable life, no problem. It's like, where is it gonna lead you? Is it gonna lead you to a life that is truly beautiful and fulfilling and adventurous, and something that you're gonna look back to when you're on your deathbed and like to think, I had an amazing life? Or is it just gonna lead to you just being a cog in the machine like your whole life, just going to work 9 to 5 every day, buying the same food, eating at the same restaurant, and like maybe if you're lucky you're married and have kids, but it's like, did you really have that many adventures and experiences? Did you grow your spirit, your soul? Like, how do you feel inside about your life? I don't think that the welfare state is gonna provide you with any of those things. It's only gonna provide you with only the essentials. And yeah, it's not gonna lead society, like the 7 generations, it's not gonna lead them to anywhere good. It's just gonna create weak men and weak men and weak men, and like until they, I guess, die off. So yeah, you got to think forward. You got to think like in the bigger picture. It's like, you know, you know, some of those, Hollywood movies, like, I'm not into the un-Hollywood, but some of them like show you like great hero's journey and great adventures. It's like, maybe take inspiration like in a positive way to like embark on some kind of adventures like that. Like, take the flight, like fly away sometimes, right? I mean, who knows where it's gonna lead you and who you're gonna meet. I mean, just the other day, like I had to do a visa run here in Thailand, and just by chance, I thought I'll just go across the border and return like the same day. That's how it used to be last year. But this time they tell me, no, you gotta stay on the other side in Laos. You gotta stay there for 2 nights. I was like, oh, okay, oh shit. I wasn't prepared. I didn't have anything with me. I didn't have, no extra clothes, no backpack, nothing. Because I really didn't know I had to stay 2 nights. So I was like, okay, I'll just do it. Fuck it. So yeah, I just did it. I went to the hostel and I stayed 2 nights at some hostel. And what do you know? I meet amazing people, have amazing conversation, get to talk about natural law with people. From all over the world. There's a guy from Hawaii, there's a guy from Brazil, there's 2 ladies from the Netherlands. Like, I got to hang out with all kinds of people, have amazing conversations, amazing experiences. So just like that, like, sometimes even life will give you opportunities to kind of challenge yourself. And like, I could have like bombed myself out and like locked myself in a hotel for 2 nights, but I chose to go to the hostel and socialize and challenge myself a little bit. So like, maybe if you take the harder path, you'll end up actually being more fulfilled than thinking that I'll just want convenience, I just want easy. No, probably not gonna fulfill you at all.
Yeah.
man.
Thanks, Theo, for kind of turning the corner there. That's like what I love to do towards the end of the podcast, is always kind of talk about solutions and try to leave the listeners with some things to think about. And I'm glad you had a good experience at a hostel. I always think, boy, what a weird thing to call them. It sounds like hostile. It's like, that doesn't sound too inviting, but I've had a lot of people tell me they have great experiences like you do, like you did, of meeting people. If folks are in the chat, there's been some really great comments going in the chat. But I would say, one thing you brought to my mind, Theo, too, is the importance of, and Leslie said something on this note too, and I always harp on this, the importance of training, training for self-defense, training for survival, training for the future. Speaking of Netflix, Leslie and I sometimes watch a little Netflix. We do, though, when we watch Netflix, we try to talk about morality before or after some of the shows, or incorporate them into discussions. So that is like one of our getaways we do. But, after we're doing the great work, we'll sit down and watch a show, and sometimes we'll be like, that's interesting. How does that play into morality? And we recently watched The Equalizer 3. And, this guy's just this amazing badass killer, right? And he goes around destroying all the gangsters for all the terrible things they do. But one thing I really appreciate about this movie is it shows a very true element of self-defense or martial arts, as far as that goes. He's always making the move before someone else gets a chance. He's prepared with a plan. Like, the gangsters were like, okay, we're going to go kill him in the morning. He showed up at their house that night, killed them all first. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of preparation we need to have in this world, because like they're talking about in the chat, like right now you might be able to opt out of, getting the chip implanted in your skin or whatever they want you to do right now. But next year, it's not going to be so easy with that tiptoe back and forth that who was talking about. But, we all know the plan is to keep progressing the thing forward. So if you're not making plans right now to defend your freedoms in the future, you're going to be losing them already, just like inflation is destroying our ability to live in the area where our parents lived, like I talked about. So a lot of this is making it a life practice to be doing something every day to resist the bullshit that we know is coming, or find a way around it. And the most powerful way we can do those things is by learning to work together. And rites of passage is a beautiful thing to bring up. How are you going to have rites of passage if we don't have community? Because that's part of what creates these wonderful rituals, coming of age things, is we have to have a group of elders to show the young ones the reason to be inspired to do the hard thing. Because right now, our elders are people like military and politicians who are showing the wrong thing to do, the immoral thing to do, which is going along with the system and being addicted to convenience. And that's what really makes this convenience bullshit so bad. It's not that it's convenient. That's just two things coming together that were converging. That's fine. But when it's doing that in an addictive manner and you have to keep having it because you've become stuck on it and you don't have a better way to do things, that's when you're fucked. And that's what we're trying to give people: encouragement, inspiration to not get fucked, but to start figuring out how to not get fucked right now. Well, you still can. So that's kind of the last bit I'm going to say on it, and I'll let anybody else do their closing statements, and then we'll close up for the night. Thanks so much, guys. Derek, you're up.
Thank you, sir. And yeah, we always have to keep in mind that they are so addicted to convenience, and in this whole, like, we have to equate convenience sometimes in the controller's eyes to control. Same with, for your safety. It's just more layers of control and all this stuff, and like more intertwined bullshit within the Matrix, whatever. Neon Zenith, saw you mention that. So yeah, we can exit the Matrix, although yeah, it's clinging on to all this stuff, and yeah, it's kind of hard with all the phone stuff is ridiculous. Yeah, like the verify your fucking whatever, Leslie, you're talking about that, and yeah, you hit the nail on the head with a lot what you said, and that was great, and I appreciate that. And something you said made me think about, like, there's, when you see things that are kind of being done for you, does anyone get that feeling of like, this is almost like an insult to my being? Like, I can do this shit. What the fuck? Like, sometimes I get that from like escalators or some shit like that, I'm like, fuck this. I'm too young for that. I'm gonna take the stairs. The fuck is this? Like, preserve your youth through, and these are just like small steps, literally, to, break away from the convenience of things that are kind of making us just slog on to the next day and kind of just rolling around in the hamster wheel. A lot of people aren't even running in it because they're in their cubicle and all this stuff, and they get food delivered to their door now. Like, wow. Height of evolution, folks. Great. But and not to like patronize people, whatever the fuck. Sometimes it helps people out in a pinch or whatever the fuck. Use it to help out situations where you really fucking need it. Don't become dependent on it, like Leslie mentioned a lot. And that's yeah, something we have to just keep in mind. And it's good to come up here and remind myself and others and all that good stuff. And we have to understand that, yeah, all this convenience and like the throwaway items and all that stuff, it's not convenient for the environment. And like recycling, people can't even fucking recycle like certain things so easily sometimes. I don't know, it's sad, but whatever. But yeah, so with the human psyche, we have to be properly stimulated more from nature than the digital realm, and we have to like challenge ourselves to healthy degrees sometimes, like take more walks instead of the car or the bike or even a fucking skateboard. I'm 41 years old. I still got my skateboard. Keeps it rolling, anyways. Like, yeah, just think about how our ancestors had to get by with little to no technology compared to what we have today, and it is a very humbling feeling. And I think those feelings can help turn the wheels towards wanting to break out of this like getting coddled by technology in the nanny state or the granny state, like you're talking about, Oscar, and all that stuff. So yeah, we got to maintain that self-empowerment, and I encourage folks to do that. And yeah, thanks for listening, and thanks for all the comments out there, y'all.
Thanks, Derek. Thanks for your words and for all your hard work being part of the Warriors too. Much appreciated. Thanks for showing up tonight at whatever weird hour it is where you're at.
4:21.
That's a good timing. Yeah, anybody else want to wrap up? Any closing thoughts, advice for our audience?
Yeah, I mean, I actually really appreciate the topic chosen, even though, as I mentioned, I haven't gotten the chance to hear the talk you've had on the One Great Warriors. I feel like this is a topic I've kind of turned an eye to, been a bit blind to, even though it was like it really became apparent in the COVID years, like in the restriction years. That's why also this meme that I'm sharing now, it comes from that time where everyone was encouraged to self-isolate, and then very conveniently there was a lot of ways people could still do a lot of the things that they used to, like the delivery systems, the online conversations, and hey, I'm not about to bash the technology. I just think it is interesting to think about that how big a part of life it is, and how often when things are so ubiquitous, they tend to become invisible in a way. So yeah, I really appreciate that the topic was chosen, and that I could join in. If I could say a few things, I would probably say that I think the question of are we willing to inconvenience ourselves to be free, that Leslie brought up, is a really cool question to ask. And you also brought it up in the context of upbringing of children, which I thought was very relevant because, well, bringing children to the world is a lot of things, but one of the things it is not is necessarily convenient, especially when one has kind of settled into one's life and everything is in order, everything is working. Then you get this little kid, and that's not how they work. They don't work with that way. Like, they want to wake up 1 minute and eat the other, and you know what I'm saying? Like, it's chaos, but not really chaos, but it's in that frame of view where everything is under control, if you will. It is very inconvenient. And are we willing to bring children into the world, and how are we willing to do it? Are we willing to do it in the inconvenient way, which will create freedom? Are we willing to be conscious parents and give children our time and attention, even though that it is inconvenient, and it is more convenient to just turn on a fucking show? I don't need to swear, but it is something that I think is very relevant, because it is a big part of the solution, is conscious parenting, and that is inconvenient. It is, if one is a parent with someone that you're no longer partner with, in the sense like romantically, or you're not living in the same, that's inconvenient. That's how does one go about that? And I think it is interesting to think about that this focus on convenience is a state of mind. It's a way of thinking that it's a prioritization. It's saying that, and what is it when we bring it back to the etymology? What is it that is coming together? Because if something is possible for me to do, and something else that I also want to do, and I think that I can combine those two things, I really have to be honest with myself and ask myself, am I really doing them properly? Let's say the example of bringing children to the world, or maybe let's take that one for example. Like, am I really bringing my child up by not like by just trusting? I think, oh, perfect, someone could do this, and it's coming together, right? It's convenient. Or with the education in Denmark, as I was saying before, am I really educating myself? Because it's very convenient that I can also get an income. And I have to ask myself honestly, like, and maybe the answer is yes, but at least I have to ask myself that, am I really doing what I'm saying I want to do, when I'm thinking that I can do this and the other thing together at the same time, like where it's conveniently coming together? What is it that's coming together? Is it my lack of responsibility that is coming together with someone's desire to control me? Is that really what's happening? And I'm ranting a bit, and I have one finishing thought, which was when it comes to the living on the edge. I was thinking this is something this is something that is very living. Like you see it in a lot of life. It's living on the edge. It's there's so much life on the edge. Like also in permaculture, you see this in the patterns that most of the life, most of the growth happens on the periphery. And if like if you look at a tree, for example, you have a tree as a logo, Chris, in for at Evo. The leaves, which you would say when you contrast a tree that is in winter and a tree that is in spring or summer, it's the leaf that is the most apparent difference. And the leaves are on the like the shell of the tree, if you can call it that. It's not the shell, but like the crown of the tree, right? And also on a biological scale, like on a microscopical scale, the cell, it has the membrane, and there's so much happening right there at the edge. So I think that's something that I came to mind. And yeah, lovely to speak with you all. I thought it was such an interesting subject. I'll have to go forward with that in my own life, think more about that and reflect on it and integrate it.
Beautiful. Thanks, Oscar. I was thinking, yeah, the crux of the universe. It's happening now. Right in between my hands. Bow! There it is. You know, that's reality, man. It's happening now, live. Get in on it.
I'll just add, there's no real escape. The only way out is to end it. Because even if you exit and build, like I've partially done, you know, I'm in the country. Came from the country, went to the city, back in the country, somewhere else. You know, the way things are going is like probably going to be a survival scenario to force everyone into CBDCs and the whole biometric control grid. And even if you're out somewhere where I am, and maybe you got a community and everyone's like living in a community and they got the land and it's all pretty, like they got their own survival and economy, and they don't rely much on the interdependence of the external society. Well, all it takes is order followers and like, hey, those guys got freedom. Make up a story about the fucking evil or something. We gotta go take them out, and then they just get taken out, or they get put into the labor camps, and then it's over for them. Well, what did you do? Did you try to end the evil? No, you just were focusing on exiting. So you got to do both. If you're going to do the exit, you got to do the great work. If you're not doing the great work and you're only exiting, then you're playing to lose, like Passio says, and well, that makes you a loser. You're playing to lose, it makes you a loser. Or you might be winning personally. You got your my personal freedoms. You got more independence. You got more freedoms, in individual freedoms. But in the end, you're not doing a fucking thing to end evil. So what's going to happen to evil? Well, if you don't do anything to end it, it's just going to continue, and it's just going to get worse. So, you know, if you're going to do one, you got to at least do the other one, which is higher morality, what I would call level 2 morality, and that's the great work. If you're not doing it, well, then you're a sucker playing to lose, and you don't care enough about your own enslavement to bother to do anything about it. Mic drop, the end for me.
Oh, that is a really good mic drop ending. Did I miss anyone? Leslie?
I have a little, of course, I have more to say, but
awesome.
Okay, you guys had so many great points, you know, that were running through my mind around addiction. That has come up a lot. And of course, you know, there is an addictive quality to convenience. And I think that when we're addicted, we're not in control of ourself, right? Our mind we're not running our mind. We're not running the show of our life. So it's really important to do your inner work and to kind of detox, I think, from those things in your life that you are habitually using, you know, whether it's food, whether it's technology, whether it's convenience, but to really test yourself. And that kind of is in line with this idea of rites of passage or initiations. It's this idea of, you know, testing yourself, you know, through something hard that will then grow your character and help you to become more autonomous and more sovereign internally to develop the inner monarchy so that you are less dependent on external rulers, right? We don't want to be dependent on external, entities any more than what I would call shifting from that to being interdependent in community. So bringing coming together in small groups, in communities where we are really connecting from the heart. And, as Theo beautifully described, like the gift of connecting with other people, right? Even if you're sleeping in a cot in a room with 4 people, that is a very small thing compared to the joy and beauty of the interpersonal connection. And I think that when we can connect around, principles, and there comes a great sense of fulfillment and an inner feeding, like the food. It's like the real spiritual food that we need, where we then are not going to be as addicted to all these external things. Because, biologically, I wanted to share this a little bit, that I think that convenience is related to comfort, and comfort has a root in our drive for safety. And a drive for safety is a biological, natural drive psychologically. And it has to do with our early connections to other humans, our connection to our parents, our attachment, our emotional attachment, and having security around being taken care of. And we're in a world where historically, if we look at history, the human bond has been broken over and over through war and separation and, immigration and all sorts of reasons that people's sense of safety and community are being disrupted. And I think that has a lot to do with our psychological state as a whole. And, our first drive for comfort is, when you think of the vagus nerve, and that is about rest and digest. It's about seeking safety. And the first route is always connection. But when connections become unsafe, then there's fight or flight, and there's disassociation. And this reliance on convenience is a part of the dissociation and the flight in our world. It reflects an imbalance in our psychology as a whole. And so we really, can come a long ways through this inner work and developing the discipline that it takes to face our fears and not let our fears and our anxieties run the show for us. So I thought that was important. So, community building, inner work, rites of passage, and finding true connection, true valuable heart-to-heart relationships, and understanding our interconnectedness and how we can become freer through working together. Thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate everybody here. I so appreciate these dialogues. Oscar, it's so wonderful to have you join us, and Theo, and of course, all our regulars, Derek, Chris, and Chris, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie. And, giving people some psychological understanding there is part of learning to work together with ourself. That's got to happen first so that we can relate well with other people. I'll end this with a quote. I don't know if I read this one last time, but I really like it, from Seneca, attributed to Seneca, who's, if you start looking into, now I'm going to blank out on the word. Seneca is, I forget the term. Anyway, the quote is, "The gem cannot be polished without friction, nor man perfected without trials." So, yeah, your gems, folks. So polish yourselves and work on the solutions. Thanks for coming. Evil is the destruction of freedom. And check out Freedom Under Natural Law, folks. There's going to be updates coming soon about Funnel 4. And we'll see you guys all next week on the End Evil podcast. Thanks for coming. Great comments. Thanks in the comment section. and we'll call it a night. Thanks much, guys. Have a good one. All right.